they pushed us super hard to take down things that were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. Like, we're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down things that
it was
that talk about vaccine side effects?
It was people in the Biden administration.
Oh, boo-hoo. Break out the little violin, right? Mark Zuckerberg sounds like a very different man since President Trump's 2024 victory. Old Zuck said he's removing the so-called fact-checker feature on Meta platforms, such as Facebook and Instagram, but he promises that these aren't the only changes that we should stay tuned over. Gone, he says, are the woke secret police hiding behind the safety of their keyboard censorship wands. Gone are the tampons in the men's restrooms. Gone even is Emperor Nerd Zuck's signature hoodie. Or at least, so it appears. Count me a skeptic still, but I'm open to seeing change happen, especially in this space. After meeting with Trump at the center of the universe, Mar-a-Lago, last month, and reportedly again this last Friday, it seems Zuck is trying to pull off a rebrand like his counterparts Jeff Bezos and Tim Cook have in the wake of Trump's resurgence in American politics. Seems they're looking at Elon Musk and suddenly realizing that they're not at the cool kids table anymore. So what is happening here? Is this change for good, or is it merely for survival? We bring on our next guest who knows these circles very well. He's the CEO of Hedgehog Social and the co-founder of the social media app Parler. John Matze, welcome back.
Thanks for having me here.
Is this for good or is it survival?
It's business as usual. So if we look back in 2021, as soon as Biden won the presidency and just weeks before the inauguration, out comes the red carpet, banning Donald Trump from Twitter and starting to take a crackdown on his supporters. Now in 2025, just weeks before the inauguration, we are starting to see everybody randomly wake up and have a moral backbone that previously didn't exist. It's got to be crazy to discover that.
Well, it's certainly an adjustment, I'm sure. But, with Zuckerberg, there seems to be a few differences. He does seem to be surrounding himself with different people. I'm not so sure about the Bezos connection. I think the Bezos, the Tim Cook, those figures, I think they are running purely on monetary concerns. Zuck is the same way. I call him Zuck. Zuckerberg is the same way. That said, there are a few glimmers of hope when it comes to Zuckerberg, such as his friendship with Trump ally Dana White, and Dana White now joining the Meta board. That seems hopeful. But again, I'm still standing in the skeptic's corner thinking this just looks like survival. And perhaps even making your friends is a part of survival.
Yeah, it's convenient to pick people to back up what you're saying, to go ahead and reinforce it. That doesn't mean that there's actually significant change. And I would love to be an optimist about this and say I think he's, awoken and he's realized that free speech is very valuable in this country and we need to, push back against authoritarianism. I don't know that that's the case. In the previous interviews that you saw with him over the last couple weeks, talking about how the Biden administration had pressured Facebook back in the day and him saying, well, do we have to do this? Well, no, you didn't, because I faced the exact same pressure in 2020, 2021. And I said, no, we're not going to censor anybody. And it came from positions of authority. The reality is back then when Facebook was caving and banning people for saying vaccine skepticism, or they were claiming masks don't work, which turns out now was the truth. If you said that back in 2020, 2021, you would have been booted from his platform. And it set the precedent for the entire industry, not just for Facebook, but for the entire social media industry, that if you didn't also follow suit and ban per whatever authoritarian requests came in, that your platform was at risk of not following the industry standard that Facebook set. So he might be regretting or claiming to regret what he did back then today, Unfortunately, it doesn't change the fact that they didn't stand up and do the right thing. And a morally and principled company that actually had core beliefs in free speech and privacy rights would have said, the government has no authority here. I understand that there's some business interests and risk if we don't ban this content, but we're going to stand up and do what's right, and that is stand up for your privacy and your free speech.
The hope is that this is a red pilling of the tech world that may be surface level, but as they start living into it, they'll open their eyes to the benefits of it. Again, giving some credit to perhaps this is an authentic transformation. And you bring up an excellent point. They could have stood up to all of this at any given point, as you did, and as a very select few did back in 2020, but he didn't. That said, Zuckerberg credits his new worldview to having such things as jujitsu in his life. Here's Joe Rogan breaking down the benefits of jujitsu in that same conversation we played. Listen.
By the way, I'll tell you for a fact, Mark Zuckerberg started doing jujitsu, and nothing turns you into a libertarian like jujitsu.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Nothing turns you into a person who, like, really values hard work and discipline and struggle like jujitsu.
Huh.
Because exposure of character on a level that, like, there's nothing else is like it.
Wow.
So again, this is one point perhaps in the favor of this is pushing Silicon Valley towards a more libertarian view, but what are your thoughts on it?
It's just a real shame Mao and Stalin didn't pick up jujitsu. Things would have ended so differently for their countries. That being said, I mean, I think it's really cool the transformation Zuckerberg has taken. He's gone from lizard to Chad randomly in the last few years, and I think that's pretty good. Good for him. At the same time, though, you know, we have to realize these actions were still taken. You should judge people based off the actions, not their words. And if their words are, you know, conveniently popular now, well, it's really easy to say that you support free speech now that there's an administration that also supports it. It wasn't easy to do the principled and difficult thing 4 years ago. And where was he on that? And I hope that he is changing, and I genuinely hope that there is positive change in the tech space. I'm just skeptical because I understand when business interests align with what's popular and, you know, people start changing their tune, it might not be as genuine as we, you know, think.
Well, not to mention that the EU has a completely complete across the universe difference in how it views civil liberties. And they don't have a Bill of Rights. We do, or at least ours looks very different from what the EU thinks the world should operate under. So when you have two completely different models about what freedoms a people may have under a government, it's so dangerous to be looking at the EU and even entertaining conversations with them about how we regulate our discourse and our technology here in the States.
Yeah, and the EU is going to say every time that they support free speech until you say something they don't like. And that's the whole point of free speech. You're supposed to protect the opinions that are unpopular, that people don't like. And that's kind of the irony in all of this right now, is all the people claiming to support free speech are only doing it today because it's the speech that's popular and that they like. And it's not because they actually had a principled basis in protecting the rights of smaller groups or groups that were less popular at the time when they were sharing their opinions.
Yeah. Real quick before we go, Elon Musk has been delivering Cybertrucks to the LA area. He says that deliveries are going to be delayed because the inventory for the trucks are limited because they're helping out in that fire. What do you think about that whole effort? Cybertrucks equipped with Starlink systems helping bring internet to people suffering in that crisis.
He's got to do something with all these extra Cybertrucks that he can't move on the lots right now. There's a pretty big backlog of inventory, but I have to say Starlink is excellent. It is really high quality service, and whatever he can do to bring more internet to people in need, you know, all for it. So good on him for helping out. Absolutely.
All right, so I take it we don't have John Mate's Cybertrucks rolling around California lately. We'll stay tuned for that. John, always a pleasure. Thank you for coming on.
Same. See ya. Thanks.
Coming up, we're making artful language great again with Mike Crispy. Stick around for our word of the day. You don't want to miss this one.